What's up, everyone? Jess here from JAMXP. This is a special episode because I'm joined with a special guest who you've probably seen on the podcast before, if you watch their episode. I'm
Yeah,
joined by Andre of Long Live the Lights, who also is my Story of the Year BFF.
BFFs forever. Big SOTY fans.
We found out we were, super SOTY fans before we even did the interview, I think.
Very
We were
true.
we were talking and stuff about that. And we're like, well, now we're best friends.
Yeah, it was meant to be as SOTY BFFs.
Yep. And so we're here to talk about Story of the Year's record in the wake of Determination, which actually, just turns 20 next year.
Crazy.
And that's a year from now. So it's like the 19th anniversary today, because we're recording this early.
It's wild.
Right? 19 years.
It feels just like 2005, right?
Yeah. Feels just like 2005, for sure. But they're
Yeah.
not doing the same stuff they were. They weren't throwing, bottles at signs.
Yeah, they weren't doing, yeah, all of that stuff is simmered down quite a bit.
A little bit. They got older, wiser,
Yeah,
smarter.
very.
But haven't we all lived through a lot of
Yeah,
stuff? So
they're still kids at heart. You can tell.
yeah. But this episode is actually being used for good purposes. We actually want to talk about the album and how Story of the Year should, do a 20-year anniversary next year for the album, like they did Page Avenue.
Yeah,
I mean, it's their second album, so I mean, they got to do it right.
they have to. Yeah, it's like part two. And it was a really good part two. It still
It
is.
was. It was. And I mean, Page Avenue tour did so good. Everyone came. It was a
Yeah,
good tour.
it was
So
great.
why wouldn't in the wake of Determination? There were actually a lot of people I've met over the years that actually became Story of the Year fans from the second record and
Hmm.
never listened to the first record. Like that
It's
was their first introduction.
it's crazy. I could imagine. It was like, I mean, at the time, I had never heard anything like that going on. That to me was what I loved about it, was that I could tell, and at that time I was really getting into heavier, like riffy guitar type music, and then when that record came out, it was like Nick of Time. I wanted to play just like that. I think that record really kind of helped me. It kind of paved the way of me becoming a better guitar player than I was at the time. So
Yeah, it didn't make me a guitar player. I've never been one. I
yeah,
tried and failed.
I have to. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I think Ryan is like one of the best guitar players ever in our generation. And if I have to, you know, say who I would look up to as a guitar player in this time, I would say him. He's really kind of. I mean, I've studied him as much as possible as far as like his style. So that record was just it was a big deal to me. I loved it.
Yeah. It was a big deal to me. I mean, I fell in love with Story of the Year before they were Story of the Year. And then Page Avenue came out and it was like, ah. And then they had the
Yeah.
second record. But I remember having a completely different like opinion of the second record when I first listened to it. Like, I honestly did not like it when I first listened to it.
First heard it.
Yeah, because it was heavier and I was like, what the heck is this crap? Like, what in the world am I listening to? This doesn't sound anything like their last record.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely different. I think the first song I heard, I'll never forget it. I was actually driving to my buddy's house and we were getting ready to jam and it came on the radio. I was in my like 2002 Honda Civic and it was We Don't Care Anymore came on. And when I heard like the verse, like I that's all I had to hear and I said, "Oh, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait for the record to come out."
Yeah.
Where I was at. I mean, and I still love Page Avenue,
Oh, yeah.
but when I heard it, I was like, okay, those guitar tones are sick. So I was about it.
Yeah, I still remember when I got the record. It was either at Best Buy or Kmart. I can't remember which place I
Uh,
bought it at. I know. Well, I worked at a Kmart for like 10 years. So,
Awesome.
but I feel like we didn't get it in or something and I had to go to Best Buy. I don't remember. I just remember opening it up and I was just like, oh, sweet. This is a pretty bright ass green CD. It's got to be a good record. And then I popped it in my CD player in my car and then was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it screamed, the album art screamed like 80s flavor to me. And I think I remember seeing them talking about their 80s flavor on the Page Avenue, the Assassins DVD. And they were going back and forth with Feldman about that or something. And so when I saw the art, it's like, yeah, man, this is going to be awesome. Especially after I heard the song. So,
Right. But I mean, I listened to that CD probably for a few days straight right after I got it and everything, and then it started growing on me. And now
yeah,
it is one of my favorite albums of theirs. But I mean, every album I love all the albums, honestly, for different reasons.
yeah, same here.
But
Same.
people try to make you rank them and stuff, and I'm like, I can't really rank them too much. I mean, Page would be probably be my number one, but after that, I don't know what the heck I really want to rank it.
Yeah, it would be really hard for me to rank a Story of the Year record because I just love all of their music. So, I mean, it, I'm with you on that. It would just be it'd be tough because
I
there's nothing.
mean,
Yeah,
I did technically rank it when I joined the Discord because they make everyone rank all the albums,
I'd be
but
in
I
trouble.
don't remember what I put. A lot of people had the constant like last, and I'm like, why? That record is great, you know?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because the guys don't like it that much because of where they were at in life,
Mhm.
But it's still a great record to me. I don't know.
It is. I think that I could tell when I saw them around that time. I saw them in like 2010 at this place that isn't there anymore in Houston called Meridian, and they came with, I think it was Maylene and the Sons of Disaster, and I think a band called Very Bad Things, which was one of the guitar players from Taking Back Sunday at the time or something. Went off to do his own thing, something like that. But they headlined the show. SOTY did, and you could just kind of tell like they were indifferent about that record. I could just feel it, and it was probably because we're such a fan base, or I'm a fanboy of theirs, so I could read the room a little bit. It was still a great show, but hearing them later on talk about it, you know. But anyway, going back to In the Wake,
I
huge
know
fan.
we're not talking about the constant. We're talking about In the Wake. We got a ways until there's a 20-year
Yeah,
for the constant record, which
right,
probably will never happen. So
right.
that one's definitely not happening. But yeah, talking more about In the Wake, did you mention where you got the record from, or do you remember exactly when you got it?
Yeah, Best Buy.
Best Buy.
Yeah, I got it from Best Buy. I do know that. Yeah.
What was your first impression when you popped it in the CD player and the first song came on?
Um, I mean, I was excited about We Don't Care Anymore, and I listened to it like front to end, and I think it was, I mean, I used to work at this, like, in this machine shop at the time, and I would blare, like, is this my fate? He asked him, like, at a specific time of the day, like, close to, like, quitting time, and everybody loved it. Nobody said anything. I got tired. Everybody was always used to hearing Linkin Park. So when I brought that in, it was, but yeah, I mean, I listened to it front to end and I loved everything, you
Yeah,
know, favorites though. But what about you?
I have favorites. I mean, if I had to choose favorites, the whole record is a masterpiece, just like Page Avenue was, to
Yeah.
me at least. Some people
Mhm.
wouldn't agree, but I mean, my favorites are Our Time Is Now, Taste the Poison, Five Against the World, and Wake Up the Voiceless. Those are my favorite
Wow.
tracks off the album.
Yeah, I listened to it like all day today just to kind of get back in that moment. I was at work and I was listening to it, and I kind of had my headphones like turned down a little bit so I could kind of hear everything in context because I just used to crank it.
Right.
And there's so many parts on, like, between guitars and drums that I'm hearing at a much older age and just appreciating it more. My favorite was We Don't Care Anymore. I had Five Against the World on repeat all the time. Taste the Poison, and I loved Stereo.
Yeah.
Uh, for me, I think the guitar solos is what I really, really liked. I mean, I hadn't heard guitar solos like that from a band of that era at the time besides them. So hearing that kind of took me back to like this 80s vibe, but it was just fresh and I loved it. So all about the solos and all those songs, especially Five Against the World.
Yeah. Five against the world. Now it's four against the world.
Against the World. I wonder if they would say that. Who knows? Like other
Maybe Josh will watch this episode
maybe
and he can comment. Josh, if you're watching this episode, you can comment on how you feel about five against the world now that it's just four of you against the world.
it would still work, I think, if they said that. But yeah.
Change it to four against the world.
Yeah. Four against the world. I mean, you know,
It could work. I think
yeah.
some people might not like that though.
Yeah. True. People's choice.
People's choice. What do the people want? You to change the lyrics or not change the lyrics? That's the question.
Right. That'll be the new post of the day.
So I was thinking about the first time I saw them after the album came out, and it was definitely House of Blues in Chicago with Amber Lynn, Funeral for a Friend, and the He Is Legend tour.
Wow.
Because I remember, because I got a picture with a friend of mine and with Steven from Amber Lynn at that show.
That's awesome. That's cool. Amberlin's great. Yeah, that was a stack lineup for sure. You said House of Blues.
Yep, House of Blues in Chicago.
Was it
It was
2005?
2005.
2005? I would say the first time I saw them after the record came out had to have been Taste of Chaos. And that was probably by far one of the best Taste of Chaos lineups ever.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Deftones was headlining. I think Atreyu was there thrice.
I
Funeral for
I was gonna
and
say Funeral for a Friend, I think for sure was on there.
I don't remember seeing Anne Boleyn at Taste of Chaos with them, but Story of the Year, they were like Energy Machines live. I mean, this was like I can't remember if it's '05 or '06. It might have been 2006, but I recall like Ryan or the sound crew coming out with like this huge ladder, and I think I don't know if it was Dan or Ryan jumped from the ladder like into the crowd or something. It was so random, but they were crazy. They
Well,
were
they
going,
were. They were a lot crazier back then.
yeah, yeah. But that was an awesome show.
I was trying to look up the lineup for that tour, but it's making it hard. It's saying something so different, and I'm like, this is not what you even talked about.
Yeah, it was either 2005 or 2006,
Because
and
2005, Taste of Chaos wasn't even Story of the Year.
it had it in 2006. Then
Yeah, it probably was.
we saw him at Verizon. I think it's called Revention Center now in Houston, but it was called Verizon Wireless, and it was cool. I got to hang out with him for the first time. It was Dan and Ryan with a buddy I was playing in a band with at the time,
Yeah.
and they were super cool. It was great, and I wish I would have had that picture still, but it was like a flip phone picture, and God only knows what happened to that.
Yeah, it was '06 then you saw them because it was thrice Deftones Story of the Year, Atreyu, Thursday, As I Lay Dying, Dredge, Silverstein, and Funeral for a Friend.
Funeral for a Friend. You know who played like an earlier slot and I missed them and I was bummed about it was receiving End of Sirens, which that was way back. But anyway, yeah, Story of the Year crushed it.
They always crush it.
They made everybody look old. And I remember I remember Dustin from Thrice saying something like that in an interview. He was like about the tour. He was like, Story of the Year is making us all look old because they're just so energetic. It
Oh
was
yeah.
awesome. It was
They were
awesome.
younger then. They technically still bring the energy though.
Yeah, they do. I have no excuse. I After I saw them for the very first time, I was bored at like every concert for a while because I'd never seen people move like that before
Yeah.
at show. So yeah, I feel like they turned it up a little bit with the next record, especially for their live shows.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Especially like the pit loved it at the end when they do it, Is This My Fate?
yeah, that was crazy. That was a wild.
That's definitely a good pit song.
It is. I think the same year it, I can't remember. It might have been like earlier in the spring with Taste of Chaos or close to the summer. But later that year, they came back and they played with it was Greeley Estates, Monty RI, and Berlin, and Story of the Year headlined. And they played at Scout Bar, which is a smaller venue, 2006 Halloween. And that was like one of the best concerts ever. And they
Yeah.
were like, you know, they
I feel
brought it.
like I feel like I might have seen them. What year was that? No, that was like The Constant. That was when The Constant came out. I saw them at a bar show in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I had a friend, she worked there, and she's like, I can get you in for free. And I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
So I went to that by myself.
Uh, I I would have too. They yeah, it was a smaller venue, but it was packed. And I remember going like with this girl at the time, like we were just trying to like get to know each other and whatnot. And I think I scared her because I went all the way to the front and I said, I mean, if you want to go, you can go, but I'm going to go to the front and I'm going to lose my mind. And I did. And I think she was kind of creeped out. Like, dude, you know, like every lyric to every song and you're giving everybody whiplash. I mean, I was going crazy, but
Hey, you were younger then too.
oh, yeah. It was a cool memory. Ryan was playing a solo and he stuck like a pick on my forehead, and I wish I still had it. And it was like weird because it was already the Swan, I think. So they were already working on artwork for the next record.
Huh.
It had the Swan on it. It had the Van Halen stripes, and on the back it said Ryan the Nose or something.
Or something along the lines. Maybe
Something around.
somebody else can, maybe someone listening to this can verify.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. It was awesome.
Well, since you're a musician, how did the record, influence you?
Well, for me, it's going back to just how that band really helped pave the way for me as a singer songwriter to have an identity of what style of music I wanted to do. So when I first heard Page, I was like, man, dude, this is the direction I want to go in as far as music. And then when I heard In the Wake, I was like, all right, I am like there, and I loved it. Every song, like to me, just represented such a different dynamic of energy, and it was to me like it was no question that I was going to try my best to kind of draw inspiration from that, and going onward. I knew after their second record, I was probably going to be a huge fan from then on out, and
Yeah.
they would never break up. I was like, they can never break up. So,
Thankfully, they have not broken up.
nope,
They went on that hiatus, but they came back with a vengeance.
they did, rightfully so. Yeah, as a musician, though, I would say, as far as like drawing inspiration, that record definitely turned it up a notch for me. I was just really impressed with it and very much so inspired. I was still like a terrible guitar player at the time. I don't even think I'm that great now, but as far as like songs and songwriting, it was just extremely inspiring. So
Yeah.
super stoked for that. Still to this day.
Yeah, I'm not a musician, but I think it definitely helped influence me to get more into heavier music
Yeah,
besides them, you know?
right.
Like, and so I started listening to other bands like, Chiodos and all that were a little heavier at the time. And many others, I'm sure, like Silverstein, I think was also coming out around that time.
Yeah, yeah. I discovered Silverstein from an Atreyu CD I had. And I'm not going to get off course here, but like that was like the next band that I really, really liked next to Story of the Year. Like those, like Discovering the Waterfront, when Broken is easily fixed, I think the first record, and then Discovering the Waterfront, then it was Page Avenue and um, In the Wake. So definitely In the Wake and Discovering the Waterfront were like the two I would go back and forth with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome. Gosh, I got to go back and listen to that. So yeah,
I know, right? I did listen to the In the Wake of Determination as well prior to this
you did.
conversation we're having. Yeah, but it was like a few days ago. I was like, I'm just gonna listen to this. I got distracted too because I'm at work, so I
Yeah,
walked away from it. I'm like, I've heard it. I know this record, but I did have to re-listen to it because I'm like, what ones are my favorite songs? I have to
Yeah,
listen to them because I don't really remember titles of songs all the time. And
yeah,
it's been a while since I've actually looked at the titles of the songs. So I had to
right.
listen to it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is one that I always like to, jam to. And then the next one, I'm like, oh yeah, this is one I really loved. But I just remembered I knew that Five Against the World was like one of the ones that I always liked to like
I don't.
hop onto.
Yeah, I would always jam Five Against the World. I jammed it today, and I was taken back to a time. It was so cool. Like I think this is going to be like super SOTY BFF fanboy like talk here, but if you go back, I could be wrong, but it's just the musician ear thing I have that like when I hear something familiar. But if you have the DVD of Assassins, there is like this one little scene where Ryan is playing a solo on his acoustic. And they're like, they're just backstage, or maybe they're like on, in a van or bus or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but it sounded like the solo and the guitar, like that whole guitar section of that song. So it makes me wonder if he was in the process of already writing for that, because he's always writing, right?
Oh yeah.
And I heard that, and I was like, and when I heard Five Against the World, I used to watch that TV all the time, or DVD all the time, just to get amped up for shows. So like when I saw that put two and two together, I was like, man, I wonder if that was a thing. Probably
It
was.
probably was. It probably
Yeah,
was. I mean,
yeah.
Ryan's probably already got like 50 to 100 songs written for the next Story of the Year album already. So
Probably. I know it's crazy. Never stops writing.
never. He's always got inspiration coming from somewhere, I guess.
Super dope.
He's
No,
just
it's
a powerhouse when it comes to that.
he is. He's great. He's great. Those guys, man, they're definitely Bamfs
Yeah.
for
Never heard
sure.
that one.
The Bamf,
Banff? What does Banff mean?
badass mofo.
Ah, badass mofos.
Yep, yep. Um,
I was gonna say, speaking of badass mofos, why should they go on an anniversary tour? Why do you think they should go on one?
I mean, speaking from my perspective, and a lot of guys I know that love that record, I just think that regardless of what they felt at the time, or maybe soon thereafter, just because of the uncertainty and whatnot, um, I think that it was just such a soundtrack to my life. And as far as music or just being a musician in general, um, and it's like the second chapter. So I feel like it's important to lead on with that next chapter. Okay, let's do this now and see how, because you never know. Like, I mean, Page Avenue went platinum. What was it, like 20 years later?
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd. I'm sure the crowd will appreciate this record even 20 years after it's come out. You know, I know I would if I saw it live. So
I
yeah,
mean, they might as well take advantage of doing like 20-year anniversary tours because, you know, 20 years from now, they're gonna like, or 20 or 19 or whatever years from now, they're gonna have the latest record and they're gonna be how old?
see, oh,
I mean, I feel like they're still gonna be rocking out.
they will.
They'll
I
be
just
they'll be on stage until they're like 90.
yeah, I see that very much so, and somebody jumping at some point.
I think Ryan will probably still be in the best shape of all of them though.
Yeah, he's like the athlete. It seems
He
he's always
is.
some kind of like running and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, he's the Ninja Warrior, so
There it is, the Ninja Warrior thing. I do remember seeing that.
I was
Yeah.
so excited when I saw that. I don't even remember if I knew he was on that, and I was just watching it and I was like, "What?
Hey,
I know that guy."
he should have wore like the 2005 In the Wake headband that he was wearing at that time.
He should have.
I remember he brought that back and he had like a mullet. It's pretty gnarly. It was cool. It was
Yeah, but
rad.
I definitely think they need to do an anniversary tour for the second album. I know some people have talked about like, oh, they should at least do a hometown show, but not everyone can travel to St. Louis for a hometown show. Plus, I feel like you'd have to do multiple nights for sure if they did that because there'd be so many people wanting to go.
Yeah.
But at least they should do like a smaller tour maybe than Page Avenue because Page tour was pretty big.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was a long tour. But I mean, they could do a shorter tour, just hit up like the major cities in certain areas, that maybe more people could make it to.
Yeah. They better hit up Houston if they're going to do that, or I'm going to be mad.
Well, they have to do at least two Texas states because Texas is so big, okay?
I know it's humongous. I
You do
know.
Houston, which is more south, and then you got to do one that's more north for.
Probably Dallas.
Yeah.
It'd be Dallas for sure. I was going to say, oh, speaking of in the wake of determination, so we're friends with, uh, we got a friend named guy named Kevin Fowler. He's out in St. Louis, and he's in a band called Naysayers, really awesome metalcore band. And they were called For the City prior, and they recorded with Dan when he was producing bands at the time. And he sent me a picture of him, I guess, tracking drums, and it was on Josh Will's um, in the Wake drum kit. It had like the artwork all around it. This was literally yesterday morning, and I thought, oh, how ironic. That's crazy. But that was pretty cool. Thought you'd enjoy that story.
He should submit that for.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. He should
Gonna tell-
he should use that. Be like, he's drumming on the In Wake set, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty cool. It had the green on it. It had like a newer on the kick, uh, the floor that yeah that I drew a blank, but it had like a newer logo. But everything else you could see in the wake.
Yeah. He should definitely submit that for this campaign. The campaign we're doing and helping out with trying to get them to do an anniversary tour.
That would be cool. I'll just send it to you and I'll tell him, and then you could submit it if you wanted.
Yeah. I can send it to Teresa and see what she says. So
Yeah,
you can be like,
cool.
hey, I have this footage if you want to use this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, I wish they would come to Milwaukee for sure. But I mean, if they go to Chicago, I'll still make it happen. I'll go to Chicago.
How far are you from Illinois? Like Lombard, sorry. Virginia.
Lombard? I have no idea. All I know
Because
is I'm 2 hours from Chicago.
oh, okay. Well, then you'd probably get to Lombard a lot sooner, maybe. Because well, I don't know. I'll be there in like 3 weeks, and we're 20 minutes out of Chicago, city wise, from where we'd be staying.
Yeah, I feel like Lombard there's like a venue there, I think,
Is there?
that has like rockabilly shows a lot, I
Oh,
think. I can't remember what it was called though. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, I'd say I'm only 2 hours and 6 minutes away from Lombard.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not too far.
No, no, that's cool. Yeah, I would love to see them come to Houston again for sure. The last time I saw them in Houston, they came with Yellow Card. I think it was, yeah, it was Yellow Card's tour at the time. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't get to watch them long enough. Like, I think they only had like maybe a 25 or 30-minute set, but they played War. I don't know if they played anything from In the Wake, but right before they released their second, I'm sorry, right before they released their recent album, Real Life. Um,
Tear me to pieces.
I'm sorry. Wow. I'm drawing blanks today. I'm sorry. Long,
It's
long.
okay. It's okay. Real Life's my favorite song on that record, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. Tear Me to Pieces. Right when they were getting ready to release it, I got some really good footage of them performing "Take Me Back." So I'll send that to you, and then you could submit that if you want.
Yeah.
You'll love it. It's awesome.
But
Anyway,
yeah, anniversary tour would be the best. Oh, however, if they only did a hometown shows or something, I definitely would have to make the 6 hour trek down there again.
that's
But
a 6 hour drive.
yeah, and it's a boring drive.
I'm trying to think. Like, I think a 6 hour drive that would be like from here, from Houston to Waco,
Yeah.
Bill in Texas. Ugh. Anyway, yeah. I mean, but you could do it. You're a fan.
Well, you're a fan. Come
I
on, hop
could.
on a plane.
I would. I would totally. I'd love to go to St. Louis and go see him if I had to.
Yeah, it was a bucket list of mine when the record came out and I went to the release. So that was a
Yeah,
bucket list. I wanted to see them at a pageant show.
I never got. I mean, obviously, I haven't been to St. Louis, but I would love to go to the pageant.
It's a good venue. I liked it.
It's pretty
You're
cool.
only 12 hours and 28 minutes from St. Louis.
I know we were talking about doing a show in October there, but it was just too soon to do something this month. and we got asked from a band up there, and we actually played with a band from St. Louis about a week ago, and they were really good. Punk band, pop punk band called Wes Hoffman and Friends. But we were talking about Story of the Year, and I'm that fan guy, so I brought them up, and they're, oh yeah, of course we know SOTY, so it
Yeah,
was cool.
Chris is always getting on me though about that. I always randomly somehow bring up Story of the Year during an interview. And
He gets
he's all like, "Oh, here we go again." I
he's a
can't help it.
yeah. I mean, you like who you like. Is he a big Silverstein fan?
Yeah, they're like one of his favorite bands. One of his. I think who was his other favorite band? I don't remember. His other favorite band is a band that's not a band anymore.
Uh,
So I can't remember who it is. I'm pretty sure he's told me multiple times. I just don't remember.
yeah, yeah. Because all you remember is Story of the Year. That's
Yeah,
why.
that's it. That's all I remember. Story of the year. So if they did an anniversary tour, who would you want to see them play with?
Uh, you know what? I can name two. One would be Letter Kills.
Yep, they're on my list. They're on my list.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's why I wore this shirt because I want to see Kills tour with him. I'd love to see Anne Berlin, and there was like three three more. Um, one being a little bit different. Uh, I think they're from the UK. They're called Dumbrocco. You should check them out. They're pretty good. Different kind of energy, but kind of the same.
Is it Don Bracco or Don Broco?
Maybe Don Broco. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. But yeah, I would love to see Letter Kills, Amberlynn, and it was like I was torn between like 4 Years Strong and Silverstein.
Yeah, I have Amber Lynn on my list, and that's where I kind of stopped because I'm like, I don't know who else I would want them to tour with. Like, I feel like I'd want it to be like a nostalgia tour, like from when they did that record in 2005 and they toured with bands. But then
Mhm.
at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to listen to a couple of the bands that were on that tour because I was never really a big fan, and I'm still not, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I would have to say out of all the ones I wrote down and thought about, it would be definitely Letter Kills and Amberlynn for sure.
Yeah. I think it would be the best if they just did bands that they were like super close with back in that era, like
Yeah,
super good friends with. That would
it
be
would
fun.
yeah, it would make it fun.
Like I know they toured with Monty R.I. for a while. I don't
Yeah.
know if Monty R.I. is really doing a ton of stuff anymore.
Yeah, I think I heard them doing some stuff in the studio on Tear Me to Pieces with the singer. Steve, I think is his name. I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, I
But
think so.
yeah, they were doing something, or he was working with them on like some music for that when that record was being recorded and produced at the time. But I've heard them mention Monty R.I., which I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, otherwise like they toured with Sugar Cult back in the day too.
See, that's awesome.
That could be fun, but I don't know that Sugar Cult's doing much either.
Yeah.
Let's bring them back. Like these bands that aren't doing much, just they're gonna
No.
have like a comeback because they're gonna go on the Story of the Year 20th anniversary tour of In the Wake of Determination.
You know what's really crazy? Is this whole emo, like the emo nostalgia that's just like taking over right now, and everybody's doing like renditions or like their own version of emo songs that came out at the time. I always hear like Yellow Card or MCR and even Hawthorne Heights, but I have yet in Houston to hear an emo band cover Until the Day I Die or something like that.
Yeah.
Story of the Year song. So we're talking about doing something like that for some emo shows. We'll see though. We
Hey, you know
shall.
what's another thing they could do for an anniversary show, like tour?
Yeah.
Every city they go to, get one local band to play,
Oh, that would be
like
awesome.
open.
That would be dope. I'd be about it.
Well, yeah, I know you would. I was gonna say, I'm like, oh, Long Live the Lights can play, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely we would be psyched to do something like that. I mean, even the guys, like we're all super big SOTY fans. I'm just kind of the front runner of them.
Well, you're the biggest of them all.
Yeah, yeah. They probably roll their eyes about it, but just not in front of me. Not that I'm gonna do anything or whatever. They can give me a hard time about it. I'd be cool with it. But
Yeah, they should totally do something like that. That'd be cool. Like have
yeah,
bands submit like videos to them to like say, "Oh yeah, let our band play
That
Let us open in this city.
that would be crazy. I'd be totally down to do it.
That'd be
Totally.
sweet. I think it'd be a good idea. They should think about it. Josh, if you're
Yeah.
watching this, because I feel like you're the only one that might watch this.
Oops. I know.
Because
That was.
he watched my letter kills one, so
Oh yeah. That's dope. That's awesome. Yeah, this record, I would love to see them do an anniversary tour of it. I think they should totally.
they
Oh,
definitely should. I mean, I can't see them doing an anniversary tour for every album,
yeah.
but then again, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, who knows?
People love a good anniversary tour.
They do. It brings it's not always just nostalgia, but it kind of brings like it brings that vibe back of a time, a good
Hmm.
so that was a
Yeah,
good time that record came out.
it
I
was. It was a good year. It was a good year. I did a lot of Warped Tour that year.
yeah. 2000
I went to like 6 different Warped Tours that year, I think.
really.
Yeah. So it was a good year. It was a good year.
Yeah. 2005 Warped Tour. I know in Houston, it wasn't where it normally would be. It was just like straight up concrete everywhere, concrete and stages. So it
Yeah.
was
That was a
fortunate.
lot of Warped Tours
Yeah.
because they had to like do them in parking lots or amphitheater parking lots and stuff.
Yeah. I remember hearing Josh talk about how he'd never play another Warped Tour again.
We'll see. We'll see. Warped Tour is coming back in
We,
2025.
yeah, we shall see.
Actually, no, I think he said actually he hated playing Warped Tour, but he would never go to a Warped Tour not as a band.
Ah,
That
okay.
he would never just be a fan and go to Warped Tour
Got it.
because, he can't get into like air conditioning and stuff that way and get out of the heat and all that.
Brutal, man. It's brutal. It's a
I
long
mean, the hottest Warped Tour I went to was 110-degree heat index.
oof. I remember I went to a Warped Tour. They played, I think it was Black Swan era, and I had a headband on, and I got so sunburnt, and I didn't think to take off my headband. So it was just like red here, and yeah, you could see where I wore the headband pretty much.
Aw. You did.
Yeah,
I've seen people wear glasses like that where they have the lines on the
yeah,
side.
yeah. It was like that right across my forehead. It was funny, but yeah, I'd be totally down to see like them do some kind of like thing where a local band would open up,
Right.
depending on the city or whichever city they're at.
I would also, honestly, I would love an anniversary tour of the whole album. But I mean, if they did go on Warped Tour, that's still like the 20-year.
Yeah, I mean, very well could be.
It'd be a little early because the anniversary is in October, but still.
Yeah, yeah.
But they definitely have to do a fall tour for the record, which is fine. Just don't do winter in the Midwest. That's for sure.
Ooh, is it brutal?
It's bad. We get bad winters, and then you got to travel in the snow and stuff, and people get in accidents. You don't want to be traveling in the wintertime usually.
Yeah, I got made fun of today because I told it was like 60 degrees this morning, and that was awesome. That felt incredible. And I got told I was crazy for because I was like, I'd leave Texas if I could. I'd move to Lombard or something like that. And I've been there when it snowed, but not long enough to, experience what you said. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like 53 degrees here right now, and I'm freezing.
really?
Uh-huh.
Well, I probably would be freezing too, so I can't. I'm not going to judge you there.
But uh but yeah, I mean, I guess that's all there really is to talk about that record, unless you have anything else you want to throw in there.
I remember us talking about if it was the right move for them to go into making a second record without John Feldman
Yeah,
like that. And, honestly, I've heard them talk about it, and I just feel like, life's going to play out the way life's going to play out. It was going to happen regardless, right? They were going to go and do this record. And I think it was something they needed to do. I've heard them talk about it on their podcast. And I mean, I completely agree. I think they had to go through that and, find themselves in that. That was where they were at the time. And look what it's led them to.
right.
So, you know what I mean? But yeah, that was one thing I thought was really interesting, one of the questions. So I
Yeah,
probably,
it is
but
interesting though that they didn't go with Feldman, especially because they were still on Maverick
yeah, yeah,
at
I
the
know.
time for this record.
And Feldman's amazing. Like
But you know what? They had their reasons and the record turned out great. I think,
yeah,
didn't they talk about how Feldman didn't want them to be heavier?
yeah. He was trying to like. I think he had mentioned to them basically like, guys, look, I want you guys to kind of continue doing this. Don't want you to work like at the pizza spot or something. There was something where I read that. And what he was basically trying to say is, I want you guys to have a long-term career doing something like this. And he felt like that was the direction they should go, was like another Page Avenue or something like that.
Page 2.0.
Page 2.0, yeah, pretty much. And I remember hearing stuff like that. There was a lot of like, I don't say discord, but like tension and whatnot. But yeah, it would be crazy to work with Feldman, you know. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it? What do you think? Do you think they made the right choice?
Well, if I had to rate it between 1 through 10, I'd probably give it like an 8 that they didn't work with Feldman. Just because I wasn't like super in love with the record when I first heard it because it
Hmm.
was so different than Page,
Hmm.
at least to me in my ears. And then it grew on me, and I'm like, well, now I'd give it like a 10, that they didn't work
Yeah,
with him because I do love that record and it's completely different than Page.
yeah,
And it actually, I think that doing that actually helped them progress as musicians, actually.
yeah. I agree with you 100%. I feel like that you said it better than me. Them doing that helped them progress. So it was a better it was the right move. It was necessary, regardless of what, you know, whoever said what at the time. I feel
Right.
like looking back, it was something that probably should have been done. And it's helped them progress even to this day. So
Yep. They still have some harder side.
yeah, they they've
Even
got
Black Swan got harder.
it did. We'll have to do an episode about like Black Swan stuff sometime.
I know, right? When did Black Swan come out again? What year was that?
2000, it's
2000
2000,
what?
2000.
2008?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a little ways until we have a 20th anniversary for that.
Oh, I have to wait a while, at least 4 more years.
Yep, 4 more years.
Well,
We'll still be friends then, and hopefully I'm
yeah,
still doing the podcast, and we'll just have another conversation about Story of the Year.
we definitely will for sure. Yeah, that but I'm with you. I think they should definitely do an anniversary tour. Um I love the record. It was a soundtrack to my musical identity still.
Right.
Uh Helped me become a better guitar player. I think I think all of those guys are incredible. Ryan's one of the best guitar players in this lifetime, in my opinion. So I'll fight if somebody disagrees, but they can fight me. I
But
don't
yeah,
care.
they should definitely do an anniversary tour for In the Wake. I know that, like I mentioned earlier, so many people got into Story of the Year for the first time from that record.
That's awesome.
So I mean, you gotta support and help and make it happen for those fans, if not
Yeah,
the ones that were jumping on the bandwagon back at Page Avenue time.
yeah. Like you have there's both sides of the arena there. There's just as many people that love In the Wake.
I feel
Yeah,
like some people's favorite CD is In the Wake
that's awesome.
versus Page,
That's cool. That's
which
cool.
is kind of crazy to me. But then again, I started listening to them more so in the Page Avenue era. So difference of opinions, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know. It is. I mean, it had to start somewhere, and you discovered them before they were Page Avenue, which is awesome. I'd love to talk about that sometime.
Yeah.
The there, that's cool. I'll send you a. I'll try to send you some really cool In the Wake era YouTube videos from like way back. Like take
Yeah. I don't know if I have any videos of them from back then.
You'll enjoy them.
If
There's
I
a
did, they're really bad quality
yeah. The quality was different for sure,
for sure.
but you'll dig them.
Well, I think that's all we had to talk about, unless you have more.
I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm kind of out of it at this
I'm
point.
out of it.
Not completely out of it,
We're out
but
of more information that we don't have anymore.
I'm so excited I'm out of it. I'm so excited that I called their recent album, Real Life, instead of Tear Me to Pieces because I drew a blank. Just my ADD.
It's okay. It's okay. We've all been there,
Yep.
but I hope everyone watching or listening to this episode enjoyed our story of the year talk, and they should definitely comment on the
For sure.
episode on YouTube, Spotify, on our Instagram page, and tag story of the year in it and say, hey, yeah, you should definitely do an anniversary tour
Let's do it.
for In the Wake of Determination. Let's make it happen. This
We got it
campaign's going all year until they announce a tour.
right. I'm down. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I am
Well,
ready.
thanks for coming on and chit-chatting with me.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon.
SOTY BFFs for life.
For life. So be it ever.